So this is my first time trying this. I'm just gonna mod maps live on stream and see if that like gives extra feedback or just like makes things easier, and then I can just upload it to YouTube and get free views. Okay, so just gonna start. I don't usually play the maps first. I just kind of go into the editor and just like mimic how I'd play it. Let me turn up the game. Okay. First thing I noticed is the beat snapping is like, I feel like this should be on a blue tick rather than a pink tick, and I think that's because you didn't put a song offset. So what you could do is up in the top left there's a 340, so just like 340, and then you'd have to select everything and move everything, which would be a hassle, but it'd make it like at least look nicer at the top. But I don't think that's that big of a deal right now, since it seems timed all right. And I think you got the BPM right too. Timing is always the it's what makes like a really bad map from like a fine map. I think there is a little bit of an offset thing, because doing this, if you ignore the keyboard sounds, you can kind of hear like the guitar be a little bit before the hit sound. That's fair for him. But I think it is a little bit mistimed, so with how it is, if the sound is coming before you give it a negative offset, or you lower the offset, and if the sound is coming after, you'd give it a positive offset, but since the offset is 0, then you have to give it like an actually negative offset, which causes bugs, so don't do that. No, this start seems fine. I like the ideas with the vertical stuff. I guess this is the next big point. Right here, you map this sound with a release, while over here, you've been mapping every like of the hits with an actual press, and then just the end of the sound with a release. So changing your mapping up like this kind of makes like an inconsistency. So if you just like put a note at the end here, and fix. And then here you also kind of change up your mapping. This is the these three sounds. It's like, I think it's this again, but you've mapped it with a hold from here to here. Do I have a cursor on? I don't have my cursor captured, I think. Let's do that. Except I think that breaks the stream. Hold on. No, it works. Okay, never mind. So anyway, here you've mapped these two sounds like this, and you've kind of just changed up how you pattern things. So I think you should just keep the patterning the same, and also you've added less notes, or made it so there's less notes with just these things, but you hear that new background sound, the dot 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 thing. That kind of just like doesn't really make sense to me. So I think if you just mapped it the same and maybe changed the patterning so it's more spaced, that would make it like, I guess, reflect the intensity of the song and stuff. I hope this is all making sense. It's hard for me to like come up with things on the spot. I don't have tissues. I ran out. That sucks. And they're right here. I don't really mind these doublet sort of things. That's fine, but listening to the sound, to the song, there aren't really doublets. But I think I kind of like it in a way. I don't know. I'm not feeling sick. I just have perpetual stuffy nose. Try to make it simple. I mean, it is pretty simple, and it's pretty simple to play. It's just I like to think of mapping as like reflections of the song, sort of, and here you've made the density less, as well as changing the patterns for sounds that are basically the exact same, even though, yeah, the sounds are the exact same and the intensity has like increased in this section. It just kind of contradicts it, and that's what I'm trying to explain. This is why this is why we need ranking criteria. All right. I went too far. Yeah, make ranking team. So right here, there's a few things. The biggest problem is the rhythms here. Oh wait. Yeah, so the rhythms here. I think you're still trying to map these clicking sounds, but now you've just made them these like doublet rhythms, which are just like these two fast notes. And the snapping's kind of weird too. I'd recommend just making these doubles instead. Just like making them on the same tick. What's the pattern? Just doing that instead of whatever else, because it just make it a lot more simpler and then rhythmically accurate. But then, yeah, that's basically it. I think it's fine to start making these doubles because it's kind of building. I guess another thing, this is kind of getting a little nitpicky, at least I think, but this sound is mapped as a hold here, and then mapped as this thing here, and then I think, and then here it's mapped as a hold release, so I think just making those all consistent, making them like single notes or a hold or however you want, would be good. And I think a big thing I'm noticing is a lot of the beat snappings are really weird. Like here you have them on the orange ticks, and here they're like weirdly on the pink ticks. I think this is just because you didn't give it an offset, and I think if it had an offset, it'd be a lot easier to tell when things lined up. Like this would be probably like right here, and this would be right there and there, or right there and there or something. But just like some of them are probably in like the wrong places, and I think these would be these notes would be on this like green tick or something, but because the offset is a bit off, it's like I'm not actually sure. That might actually seems right, but how I find offset is going to a new level. This is what I do. I put a note right here, and then I turn it to 0.5 playback speed, and you hear that like first sound of the song. I just do it until that I just like change the offset until it lines up. So until the hit sound lines up with the actual song. So here the actual sound is coming later, so I just increase the offset. I don't know the BPM. Here it's still a little bit after, I think. So it's kind of hard to tell with like the actual first note since there's no sound before it, so I'd like do something like this if I had the actual BPM, but I just like keep tweaking it until it worked. Water. Yeah. I like using OSO maps too. They are, as long as you're using the same MP3, so if you like ripped it straight from the map and uploaded it, it should work. I think you have to like change the offset a little bit, increase it by like 20 or something, but it works a little bit differently. You just have to like change it a little bit, but it's the same like millisecond values and stuff, or like it uses the same units. Some patterning things. It isn't really that bad since the song is so slow, and it's still sort of doable, but right here, from this note to this note, there's like this weird vertical, and there's this 2-3-9-8 thing, which a lot of players are right hand dominant, so they might play this first note with their left hand, and then the 2-3 with their right hand, and then they'd have to play the 9-8 with their right hand, and it just makes a really awkward jump. You could do something like this if you wanted to keep it on the left hand. This way, like, you just like alternating the middle and index fingers. So this is played with the right index finger, and this is played with the right middle finger. Or, shit, this is played with the right index, right middle, index, middle, and then this is the left hand. Or you could like do something like that. And here it goes from the right hand to the left hand. And then from here it's from the right hand to the left hand. It's hard to speak clearly. There's a miss note right here. Okay, bye phoneme. I'll be uploading this, I think, to YouTube later, so if you really wanted to, you could watch that. I'm starting to realize this is only really helpful if you really focus, or I guess just like watch really intently, and that's not really fun. I'm I should probably write down what I'm saying too, but that's a lot. The sixth note in the seventh is more of a held sound, so you just change the. Oh yeah, and then right here, the fifth note is. You don't have to watch. I was just like, that's my fault. I might just watch this later and write down what I'm saying, and you can just read that instead of watching this. But I don't know. But right here is a held sound. So you could make this a hold. But I think it works either way. This is kind of like nice filler rhythm, this note right here, and it kind of, the flute kind of like vibratos. Anyway. I think this should start here, and this should start there, and yada yada. Yeah. And then there's a miss note right here, which I think came from the pattern changes, but this is like a 9-note thing, and you put 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 8, 9. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing, like writing down a little stuff beforehand, because that'd make this a lot more organized. But I think I'll be doing this again, so this is just like the trial run. Oh, so this should be there. This note is a little bit off. Which again, this is because there isn't a proper offset. So if you knew there was an offset, this would be a lot easier to time. There's some problems with your suggestion right here, mainly these notes being spaced badly. But I need to move on. Again, these are off by a bit. They should be on the pink ticks, but really that's just an offset problem. I can't do that, okay. Oh wait, never mind, that worked. That needs to be. This right here, this middle thing, it's not really that bad. And I think it's fine how slow it is, but there's some overlaps and it's a little bit ugly. I think this is fine, but I have a really big pet peeve about having notes on the same tile after a hold, so you just like do that. And now it's like a little cleaner. I should be looking at the patterns too. I've just been looking at the rhythms. I'm just moving these so they're on the right tick. You could just move the hold note instead, but you could also just keep it on the 5. Or just that works too, yeah. Or shit. That works too. This pattern, this like counterclockwise thing, it's a visually appealing pattern, and I've used it a few times. I like it. It's just, admittedly, it's a little awkward because it's around here. You have to like you're alting between your left hand, left, right, and then here you have to play this with your right hand. And there's this weird like thing right here. So you'd probably be doing this with your thumb. And then it just makes some weird awkwardness. I don't really have there isn't really a fix to this to like keep this pattern. So I just like change the thing. It's not the 2 to the 8, it's the 8 to the 3. Oh, I guess the 2 to the 8 to the 3. This thing, it has the same 8 to the 3, which if you went left, right here, then this would be played with your right hand, and that's kind of weird. Or you could hit these 2 with your left hand, which is also kind of weird. And they're not really bad patterns. I like them, but if you wanted to make this easy, or like really easy, these are tougher patterns to hit, so I might change them to something else. I don't really have a suggestion to change them to what else, just like try to keep in mind how it needs to be played. Like this pattern is comfortable because left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. This is off. This one, this is a pretty first there's a note missing at the end, which is because of the offset. I'm just gonna keep pointing that out because I have to. But this is the same sort of like awkward sort of thumb thing. I mean, it doesn't have to be played with thumb, but you either have to play like these columns with your thumbs and ring, or like your thumbs in your middle, or like your pointer and your middle, and that's just a little weird. And also there's this overlap right there when you double back. That's just kind of awkward. For something like this, you could just like, if you want to like keep the visual, you could do something like this, so now you're alternating. And then you could do something like this and now make a diamond. I like this better. And now still like visually appealing. And now it's like comfortable because you're alternating between your hands rather than doing some other weird stuff. Not every pattern needs to be like altered, like there's also stuff where you can like roll on one hand, like this, you'd hit these two with your left hand, but I'm just trying to like spitball suggestions. Here, you map the flute twice as long as these ones, even though I think they're about the same length. So I'd either make these longer or make this one shorter just to keep it consistent. Here there's the 8-2 thing again, or the 8-3 thing again. There's also a missing note. These snake patterns, again, it's another thing where like it looks good, but when you try to play it, it's just, you have to like, you could either like roll these with your left hand and then roll these with your right hand and then roll these with your left hand and then hit this with your left hand with like your ring finger, and that's just kind of weird. Or like hit these with your right hand, which then makes you hit this with your right hand, and it's just a big mess. This is the easiest fix, just making this played with your left hand while this is your right hand. And I've been talking about two-hand stuff a lot, but even on one hand, you're hitting both of these with your ring finger or your rightmost finger, and that's just weird. So, but when making faster patterning, you just have to really pay attention to like what you're hitting with which hand, so you know it's comfortable. I know a lot of people hate these vertical patterns. I don't think they're that bad, but if you're trying to make an easy map, these are really hard because you're either like doing some weird stuff where you're like moving your pointer finger down, or you're like hitting it with your middle index thumb. And that's just, it's sometimes fun, but not in an easy map. So a lot of vertical stuff can be really hard because you have to like contort your hand. And then right here, having a first of all, having a release. Hi, welcome back, Phonum. I've been saying a lot of stuff. Right here, having a get out the membrane keyboard and drag, yeah. Right here, having a hold at the same time as a release on the same tile, so basically just, first of all, nice. Good patterns. Right here, with these holds on the, with the release at the same. With how holds work, you'd have to do like a frame perfect stupid thing. Not actually frame perfect, but just like a really, really fast repress to actually get decent accuracy, and that's just not that fun. And it also just like, it's hard to read and looks weird. Do that or something. And then, or like that, and now like there. Now it's like comfortable, and yeah. There's another like, they got number dialing as a rhythm game. They got number yeah, they sure did. Where is he? So right here, this isn't like really a bad pattern, but I gonna say? It isn't really a bad pattern, but it's just kind of awkward. And again, if you wanted to make this like an easier map, try to like avoid this stuff, because like right here you're like hitting 4 notes in a row or 3 notes in a row with the same hand depending on how you play it, and it's just like not really that fun for a newer player. I like it, but and then here you've changed up how you like map stuff again. Here these 3 flute notes are holds, and here they're like normal notes. I don't think that this is that bad, because I kind of like it actually. Never mind. But I just want to point that out because it's a little bit inconsistent. Right here is the same problem as this. It's kind of awkward because of all the verticals and stuff. And again, there's a lot of missed notes because of the offset. So if there's a proper offset here, I think the rhythms would be a lot better, because then it'd just be a lot easier to like notice when they're right. Here there's some like weird vertical stuff right here, doing like this. For new players, it's like, okay. Hi, Rahifla. I don't know how to pronounce that. And there's also this kind of overlap with the middle notes. It's just a little weird to read, especially with this foresight. So I might change that. Okay. And then right here, that kind of comes out of nowhere. But I guess it's rhythmically accurate. I don't know how much. Yeah, it's rhythmically accurate. Just I don't really have, yeah. So, and then right here, this is like a spacing thing for reading. Here you've been mapping. Here you mapped all the like really fast notes right next to each other, and then right here where there's this little break. Right here, it's still spaced the same as these, so you can just read this as like 6 notes in a row rather than 5 notes and then another note. And then here there's just like, this is comfortable to hit and press. It's just awkward to read, so you could just something like that. And then I moved this down because it made a weird overlap. I'm kind of going fast, so I'm sorry. But to fix this thing, you could just do that or something, and then you'd move these because there's a weird overlap here. Something like this. So here, oh shit, I fucked it up. I don't know. Okay, so I'm like something like this. This like bucket pattern isn't the most comfortable, but because you're like hitting these with the same hand. But if we went with that, then here there's this space which would make the rhythms easier to read, and you just hit that with your left hand, and then here you just like roll up. And this isn't like the most comfortable pattern, but this is something that you can do to improve it a lot. This isn't that bad either. It's just the rhythms are wrong because of the offset. And here, there's the flute thing again. Oh, also right here, this flute isn't a hold, even though you've been mapping it as a hold. Maybe I fucked that one up, but I don't remember. And this one isn't a hold either, when it's been a hold throughout the map. And these are holds, even though it's like the same sounds as all the other normal notes. Second map. Nice. I mean, it's not... I don't think it's that bad for a second map. This time, besides the offset, most of the snappings are right, and the BPM is right at least. Right here is these snaking patterns again. These are usually pretty hard because right here you're hitting like either 4 notes with your left hand or 4 notes with your right hand in a really awkward motion. And that's just kind of hard. And then here, more vertical stuff. These are just really hard patterns. And then this is pretty hard fast because you're hitting like either these 3 notes with one hand or these 3 notes with one hand, and that's just hard. That's cool. Offset usually fix maps. And then yeah. So I guess the biggest takeaways, make sure your offset is right. That way your snappings can be consistent and you'll be able to get every rhythm. Also try to make like the more important sounds, make sure those are consistent. Like these flute sounds. Here it's a note, but then over here it's a hold, and over here it's a long hold, and over here it's a hold, and yeah, just like try to make those consistent so it's like rhythmically accurate. And then with patterns, make sure you understand what you want the player to actually do. So like try to make it so you hit certain notes with one hand and then certain notes with the other. And yeah. Out of 10, I've never really given maps out of 10 scores. If 8 out of 10 is like rankable, probably like a 4. I'm just kind of like rating it like how close it would be to rank, because even though the offset is wrong, BPM's right at least, and some of the rhythms are right, but it still needs a lot of fixing to be close to rank. So I think I'm gonna do, or I think I'm done with that. I think I'm gonna do chokes next because Tharman is sleeping, but I would need water. So, yeah, be right back. I got an orange. I'm gonna eat it. Well, I'm gonna open it and I'm gonna start modding while eating it. So that took a lot longer than I expected. I was thinking like 20 minutes. Almost 40. I think it's because usually when I point out like repeated problems, I usually just like type one paragraph about it, and here I just like went over every single repeated problem. And eat it. Light Yagami modding Pulsus. Alright. Trying to see if my chewing is getting picked up. Okay, it isn't. I'm gonna turn it up again. The sound keeps... I don't know. I should like try to read this. Song is good. Okay. I should like not eat while I'm trying to talk. Anyway. I kind of like this filler rhythm, but I just want to point out that there isn't actually a note there. So you could remove that if you wanted to. Oh, those are grace notes. You might want to put in the description like light gray, whatever. It's like a grace note thingy. It's pretty clear on the doubles, but they look about the same as the doubles with this foresight. So. These rhythms are a little hard to sight read. I'm not sure how I'd fix it. So like these patterns, those work really well. And I like how this looks, but I was thinking like jacks or something. Not like that. But this pattern does work once you actually like learn it, and it fits the song. So there isn't actually anything wrong with that. That's gonna be another problem. A lot of times I think I have like a mod, and then I realize, oh, it's not actually that bad, and then I just never post it. Here I have to like think it through and then say, oh, never mind. I think this is fine. I don't really have any problems with this double, but a lot of other people will. Just like a spaced vertical double. I think I like it though. I think incorporating these patterns into easier maps is something we need to do. I like this kind of like work down. I think you should. I think some like notes should be added right here because it's kind of you've been mapping vocals and you just omit the vocals. I think it works here because of the hits in the background, but I don't really get it right here, and it makes it kind of weird 3/2 gap. Same right here. I think there should be a note here. I think these should be spaced a little bit differently. I'm not really sure if this is actually a problem, and it might just be me bullshitting, but these are sort of spaced the same way as these ones, and these have a much harder rhythm, so I think spacing these differently, or spacing these like this, kind of makes this imply a little bit that this is a 1/2 even though it's a 3/4 rhythm, so just like, I don't know, don't have to go with this, and that's just a whatever example, but I don't really think there's a pause in the instrumental here because there's the bass hit and there's still the hi-hats, while here the hi-hats completely stopped, so in here there's still the hi-hats, but then here the hi-hats stop. Well, the problem with this pattern is that it's spaced like this pattern, even though the rhythms are different. They're not spaced exactly the same. It's more this 8/1 being spaced exactly the same as this 1/8. So that could make this be read as this rhythm, if that makes sense. So I think just making this spaced differently. So yeah. That's a cool pattern. You missed a double right here with the snare. At 90. I feel like these piano notes should be mapped. The thing is, I'm not sure if that'd be awkward. Because, I feel like these should be mapped. Or at least this should be mapped. Because of the piano hits, but I'm not sure if that'd be weird. I'm thinking some like not this pattern, but this rhythm. Something like that. Maybe not this exact pan because it's kind of messy, but I think something like this with spacing this like that and then rolling on the empty sounds and then spacing like that would emphasize the piano and then still get the piano because I think that piano is pretty important. Is that 5 to 1 3 like that or something? Or is this a different part? Yeah, this works. I think this works. Not changing the 5, but keeping the 5 and then into a 1 3 because this is a snare hit. And there's another snare hit here that isn't snared. Something like that. I think this should be a snare too, because there's a snare, and also the vocal thing. Nice. I think putting some note on 5 in like these 5 notes, probably like the first one or the second one, would help differentiate the rhythm because it'd be easy to get tripped up like that's a 1/3, but since there's like no 5 used here, I think a 5 would indicate like a rhythm change. Or you could like space it differently with like, I don't know, some shit like that. Wait, I did it wrong. This is bad. Don't do this because it's not good. Or maybe do that. I don't know. Up to you. But I think spacing it something like this, where they're like rolled or something, compared to this. Well, unless you really know how the song goes, you wouldn't really know that this would be then 1/2, because this could just be like another 1/3 section, because there's like nothing here. To me, the pause suggests another 1/3 section. So I think just spacing differently or putting some like something on a 5 would help differentiate it. Yeah, I get that too. I think you should emphasize it. That was just like an example pattern that wasn't good. You could do something uh, like that. I think. Or like that. Something like that, because then there's still the emphasis. And then this roll, it like indicates a rhythm change, I think. You know, 7/8 works. The thing I found with 7/8 is going from this to this with your left hand. It's kind of hard, but it's up to you. These jacks, kind of like them, but to me, they kind of come out of nowhere, and now it's like a new sort of rhythm or a new pattern, and I guess it's just a little bit awkward, but I kind of like it. I guess if you wanted to focus on pitch mapping, well, I guess it does pitch map actually. Not this one. This one doesn't pitch map, but this one pitch maps. But going to pitch mapping again, I think this will work better, because up equals higher pitch or whatever. Though you haven't really been pitch mapping throughout this entire thing. I'm just kind of projecting now, but yeah. Hold on. Smooth braining. Okay. Yeah. Just kind of a random suggestion, even though you haven't really been pitch mapping, or at least I haven't noticed it. Maybe you have been. Pitch mapping is usually pretty subtle. Oh. If you wanted to, you could put the jacks back. I think that'd be a neat like little concept for the map. But that also require a lot of remapping, so up to you. And I think there should be like a note right here. Just because this gap, or hiccups, because this gap is kind of awkward. I think a note right here, because yeah. I get emphasizing the bass, but I think it's just a little awkward. Yeah, that's fair. Less effort is fun. I think adding like something like that would be nice, because this gap's kind of big and there's still like stuff going on. Well, this rhythm is wrong, but I'm trying to decide if this works or not. I think it does work. It's just like it's wrong. But I think making it like this would just make it awkward. So I think this is the best option. Yeah, I get that. I love that. Anyway. I'm getting distracted by the song. I think the switch from the vocals to the guitar here, it's a little bit clunky. Oh, this is fizzed? Anyway, I think it's a little bit clunky. I don't know how you would fix it. That's my problem. I'm trying to think of it right now. Because, like, this is a pretty fast fix. Is this like the nurse song? The more I play it, the more I'm like starting to like it, but just like on a first listen, it's a little bit jarring. There's probably some like filler rhythm stuff you can do to like ease into this part. But I think this works fine. This, it's not really bad, but this is kind of awkward. It works if you stretch enough, but considering it goes into like the first 1/4 of the map, I'd probably make it this, which would then obviously make you have to fix all that, but you can do that. Or you can just keep this, because this isn't horrible. It's just a little awkward for a pretty simple map. Now there is some like weird stuff earlier, which I kind of like, so maybe keeping that in is fine. It's up to you. I mean, it works with my playstyle too. I think just anyone who's one-handed gets completely destroyed, and people who aren't used to that also get completely destroyed. A lot of this stuff is kind of pretty one-hand not friendly, but I think that's okay because this is like a 3.78 star. I think this is a really nice like transitional map from one-hand to two-hand because it introduces a good bit of trickier patterns. No, I don't consider them either. Unless I'm making easier songs. If I'm making easier songs, then I consider them. If I'm making like anything above 4 stars, I don't care. I think this should be this. I'm just saying. Because I think it's pretty easy to play these with both your left and right hands. and this to here is a little awkward, but yeah, and this to here is a little awkward. So I think putting it here would make it a little easier or a little nicer to play. And also, like, the song is still doing like the same motion, that da 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 chromatic thing. And then just da da da. Is that right? Yeah, something like that. So longer. I think the. I mean, I think there's still a hold ticks, and it's pretty slow. The song's slow enough to like be able to grasp that fast enough. That's a really good solo. That's a cool lick. I'd maybe do something like this, where you move this note up and this note up, because again, you can hit you can hit this with both of your hands instead of just the left hand, which is something I do a lot, so it might just be a skill issue, but if you did hit it like that, you have to do some kind of awkward thing if you want to hit 3, and it's a little less awkward if you put it on 6, so. I don't know. I think this pattern is fine, either like this or how it already was. I don't think there's one that's objectively better. I tried to find one that was like maybe a little simpler, but I think it's good. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. I think this should be spaced a bit differently, because my tiny ass brain read this as the 1/2 gap. But also, like, this was established as 1/2, and now this is being 1/2, 1/1, and this being 1/2. So I think yeah, or like something like that. That works. Cool map. I think if you fixed it, it could be ranked. I'm just gonna like play through it, see if it's mistimed. But I'm also bad at act, so who knows. Thank you, keyboard. What the fuck? Like, psycho player. Okay. My UR is like 160. At least on this keyboard. I'm just gonna keep blaming the keyboard. Anyway, I think that's it. I'll do Tharman some other time when he's awake and not asleep. Relatable. Okay. And then this is the end of the YouTube video.